This is my instant match review to the Tottenham Hotspur 1, Frankfurt 1 Europa League quarter-final first leg. I said before the game I felt that Tottenham needed to go away from this game with a goal lead or a 2-goal lead minimum to take to Germany, where it will be a raucous atmosphere, where Frankfurt do not lose many games, where they're incredibly comfortable. But I have to say, although Tottenham did play well, certainly one of the grittier performances of the season, as shown by the fact that we've actually drawn a game where we barely draw any games, do we? We made a lot of chances, a lot of half chances. Their keeper made a few saves. We hit the bar, we hit the stanchion. But you have to say that Frankfurt will be incredibly happy with that result. And every time that Frankfurt won the ball in transition in midfield, they looked comfortable, and they had 4-on-2s, they had 3-on-2s, and they should have scored some goals in the second half as well as the first half. I'm going to be pretty honest, and I know it'll sound negative, but I do find it very difficult to see how Spurs, who this season time and time again away from home have collapsed under pressure. I find it very hard to see how we're going to go to Frankfurt, who have won this trophy before, who are going to have, 40, 50, 60,000 people raucously behind them, in a way that really the Spurs fans weren't fully behind Spurs tonight. They were tense, the fans, and waiting, looking for the Spurs players to do things to get them behind them. I just find it really difficult to see us getting through it, and extra disappointing if we don't, because in the other quarter-final on our side of the draw tonight, Bodo Glimt turned over Lazio in Norway 2-0. So you'd have to say Bodo Glimt really looking like the favourites to go through from that one. I don't know what to say, really. A tactical game, a game that on all of the podcasts that I listened to this week, listening to German experts talking about Eintracht Frankfurt, it went exactly as expected, really. A game that really suited Eintracht Frankfurt, knowing that Spurs would have a lot of the possession. They try and move them around. They try and play in patterns, but Frankfurt would sit deep and then hit with pace. And after just 5 minutes, it was classic Tottenham. We lost the ball in central midfield, James Maddison turning the wrong way, and then just one pass to their golden player, Ekitike, on the left-hand side, 10 yards inside the Tottenham half, and he just ran the length of the pitch untroubled. Pedro Porro just let him come closer and closer. He didn't play him, didn't show him to the outside, showed him inside, and when he showed onto his inside, Romero didn't try and stop the shot, really. Van der Ven wasn't able to get across. Bentancur wasn't there, and he just slots it into the far corner. So disappointing to concede like that, and really kind of set the tone for what was a difficult first 20-25 minutes. But Tottenham did get their equaliser on 25 minutes. A brilliant, brilliant goal from Pedro Porro. Started with a lovely pass from Son Heung-min, a good run from Dominic Solanke into the inside left position in the 18-yard box. He holds it up, gives it to James Maddison, who was very brave on the ball considering he'd made the mistake for the opening goal for Frankfurt, takes on his man, gets to the byline, cuts it back, and a brilliant piece of play from Pedro Porro with the kind of Johan Cruyff flick with the ball behind him, puts it into the goal. One thing that really frustrates me about Spurs, and I have to say it, we just seemingly only make the same chances, which is always about kind of getting to the byline. What I will say, though, is, like I mentioned, we did hit the bar and the stanchion today. Rodrigo Bentancur, I will go into kind of player ratings in a minute, but Rodrigo Bentancur had his best game in a long, long time as a Spurs player, as a minesweeper, as a kind of firefighter in that 6 role. I was very impressed. Lucas Bergvall, for his age, just an absolute standout. And it was him who hit the stanchion with a shot from 30, 35 yards inside right position, and hits the stanchion in the top left-hand corner. So unlucky. And I'm sure in his post-match press conferences tonight, Ange Postecoglou will say that Spurs are unlucky. Spurs should have won the game. Spurs had the better of all the chances. But I would say we never cut them open. And we always struggle to cut teams open who play that kind of mid to deep block. And then the times where we did kind of win the ball high from them and get in at them when we had overloads, just took an extra touch too many times. There was a time Solanke took an extra touch. Brennan Johnson got in a few difficult, decent positions, but extra touched it off the pitch, and just a lack of rhythm. But what I will say is that was our best performance in a long while. It was our best performance in a long while. And it'll be interesting to see whether Ange is tempted to play the same team against Wolves, because they need to get rhythm in their legs. They need to keep working on how to play together. But you've got to think Van der Ven, who just kind of Rolls-Royced his way through the game without getting in any trouble whatsoever. You've got to think he'll be rested at the weekend. And it'll be interesting to see who else gets rested. I'll go for my player ratings now. Vicario had very little to do. Good with the ball at his feet, played some important passes in between his two centre-backs into midfielders coming deep. He had no chance with the goal. He claimed an early corner well. No real pressure from him. There were just a few occasions where maybe Eintracht could have shot at him and didn't, and crossed and tried to score that way. So he didn't have to do anything there. He had to make a pretty easy save right in the 45th minute, actually. One of the most frustrating moments of the match. 1-1 going into half-time, the last kick of the game, and Spurs allow themselves to get in a situation where Eintracht Frankfurt had a 4-on-2 against them. Absolutely mortifying, and in the end, due to some bad passing, they did get a shot off, but pretty much Vicario was able to save it pretty easily down to his right. Eintracht Frankfurt players celebrating, jumping up and down in front of their fans there. They're obviously very, very happy with that result. Let's hope we can stuff that down their throats in the second leg. We're going to have to go there not as favourites, and we're going to have to put on the best performance under Ange Postecoglou in his entire tenure. It's as simple as that. That is the pressure that he is under. He's going to have to go away from home and prove that under pressure this team can do it. I'm not sure they can. Anyway, back to the player ratings. Pedro Porro worked really hard, played really well. I'll give Vicario a 6.5 out of 10. He didn't have much to do. I'll give Pedro Porro a 7 out of 10. Worked hard, got crosses in up and down the right-hand side, showed what a player he is, and of course scored that goal. So what am I talking about, 7 out of 10? I'll give Porro an 8.5 out of 10. He scored the goal. Then Udogie, I said it earlier, had his best game in a Spurs shirt since his injuries. Up and down, driving at the back line, looks fresh, looks fit. And he's been getting a bit of stick from the Spurs fan base recently, so I'm pleased he had such a good game. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Van der Ven, 7. Romero, 6.5. I thought Romero looked a little disinterested in the first half. Improved a great deal in the second half. Some important balls between the lines into Solanke, into Bergvall. Much better defensively in that second half, but he got kind of muscled off the ball a few times too often in that first half. So I'll give him a 6.5 out of 10. Then into midfield, I'm going to give Bentancur an 8. I thought he was outstanding. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think in the comments about how well he played. Showed that he can be that 6. He was all over the pitch firefighting. Endless energy all through the game. Bergvall, 7.5. Endless running, hit the stanchion with that shot. One of the few players to be brave on the ball. Really good moment in the first half where he broke past 3 players because he saw a gap. Just love him as a player. He's going to be a mainstay of that Tottenham midfield for years to come. We need to find players to play around him. James Maddison, going to have to give only a 6.5. I'll give him the half mark because he made the mistake. That takes him down to a 6 for their goal, but bravely took them on to get to the byline for our goal. He tried to make things happen throughout the game, Maddison, but he wasn't at his best. He's not been at his best, and once again taken off with about 10 minutes to go of the game. Clearly he suffers from fatigue and they're not willing to risk him for 90 minutes, but to play that last 10 minutes once again, and it's happened game after game after game without a real creator on the pitch, very frustrating indeed. And we need him to be on the pitch for all the game, when especially when Deki Kulusevski isn't available. I guess it's worth saying that there's a small chance that Kulusevski could be available for that second leg, and by God we would need him, but he hasn't played for a long time, so it's unlikely that he would start, isn't it? Then into the forward line, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say Son again, 5 out of 10. Very poor performance overall. He did play a good pass into Solanke that set up the first goal, but just hasn't got the pace at the moment to get away from a man either outside his fullback or even inside his fullback, and just time and time again having to go narrow and backwards with the ball. Very frustrating. I love Sonny, but there's something not quite right with him. Maybe he's playing with an injury. He reminds me of Kane playing for England during the summer, where it was clear that Kane was kind of playing with a knock and was like 20% off his best, and that's what Son has been as far as I'm concerned. Johnson, I'm going to have to go 5.5, 6 out of 10. Very poor. Poor touches. Classic Johnson, when he's not finishing goals for you, he's not really in the game, and he had a gilt-edged chance with about 10 minutes to go. Exactly the same chance he had against Southampton at the weekend. Came to him on his left, crossed from Jed Spence at the byline, and he leans back on it with his left foot and it flies over the bar. Very frustrating. That could have been a real moment in time for Brennan Johnson. And Solanke, I'll give a 6.5. 7, because he works so hard, but once again another game where we don't make him a single chance, and he's just a doggy runner. I feel for him. In this system, it is not built for number 9s whatsoever. It is not built for him. And yeah, he didn't have much to do. His hold-up play was good. I'll give him 6.5. His hold-up play was good. He worked his nuts off. But yeah, I can't really give him any more than that. So realistically, going to that away leg next Thursday, I don't hold up a great amount of hope. I think the atmosphere at the Frankfurt Stadium will make a 12th man for them, and I think it will be very difficult for Spurs. But I'm sure we will make chances there, and we have to be more clinical there than we were here, and we have to hope that we can put on a performance like we did at Villa last season or at the Etihad this season. And if we do, if we can roll them over like we did those massive teams, then that would see us through to the semi-final. We're still in it, and that means that Ange is still in a job, and you know, he's playing with fire, but he's still in it, and we're still in the tournament. And maybe we can do something magical next week. All right, that has been my instant match reaction to the Tottenham 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 1 Europa League quarterfinal. Please do give this video a like. Please do press subscribe on the channel if you haven't already. And come on, you Spurs.